have you ever asked yourself these questions? Who am I and why am I here? I believe that if you are anything like me or like most normal people, at one point in your life, you end up asking yourself some questions or variations of these two questions. Who am I and what am I here for? So today, I want to talk to you about a verse that has made a big impact and big difference in my life. This verse is found in the book of Jeremiah 29, verse 11. This is God speaking to the prophet Jeremiah, or actually speaking through the prophet Jeremiah to the nation of Israel. And in this verse, God is technically saying, I know what I have planned for you. And the plans that I have for you are actually plans to prosper you and not to harm you. But not only that, but I'm also giving you a future filled with hope. What a powerful plan and what a powerful message. Just to hear that God has a plan and a purpose for my life, and I know that He has a plan and a purpose for your life. There was a season in my life where I had a crisis of sorts. Early in my 20s, I had discovered, talents and abilities that God had given me. And those talents and abilities, were put to use as opportunities came my way. In the church where I was attending, I started to volunteer and I started to get involved with the church and in the many departments within the church. And eventually, I ended up going to Bible school and, graduating and having my certificate and credentials as a minister. But at the same time, I was learning and getting experience in ministry, but I had a secular job. So I started in my job as, with an entry level position, but through the years, I managed and worked all my way all the way to the top, going from entry level position to being at the top at this particular location. So fast forward, many years later, here comes 2020. And we all know and remember, what happened in the years 2020, 2021. The pandemic hit. And just like you, I have a story and I have consequences of, going through the pandemic. Not only, getting sick and stuff like that, but it was a life-altering, moment or year for my life. So I knew my purpose, or I thought I knew my purpose. And one of the things that I see here in Jeremiah 29:11 is that the plan and the purpose that God has for your life, it is meant to prosper you and not to harm you. So one of the things that I have come to learn and realize, we can go for years and even decades, and if things are going well, we normally don't land on questions like, who am I? Or why am I here? But when you go through a rough season in your life, that is the perfect season or the perfect time or opportunity for you to question and ask. Be curious, why am I going through this? Or what am I going through this for? So as 20 years plus, go by, I'm having a great life, financially, career-wise, doing ministry on the side, and things were going well until they were not. So to make a long story short, in the years 2020 and 2021, I'm at the height of what I would consider my midlife years transition. For some people, you go through some kind of a crisis, in your late 30s or early 40s. And I was very mindful of that. So I thought that I had prepared myself and I assured myself that I was not going to have a life crisis or a midlife crisis. But the pandemic came to reveal a lot of things that were not right in my life. So on one hand, the business that I managed, ended up being sold, and I did not continue, my career years through that line of business anymore. I decided to, well, this is a good time and a good opportunity for me to try something else. At the same time, my ministry did not survive, all of the struggles that I had, personally, and added to that, the pandemic that was taking place. So at one point, all of these things are crumbling around me. I am losing, income. I am losing status. I am losing purpose. I no longer see meaning or a place for me, neither in my career or in my ministry. So have you ever felt like that yourself? Is this something that you went through at the time of the pandemic as well? I'm interested if you are going through something like this, or if the pandemic, caused or revealed some things about you. You can type in the comments below and just let me know, hey, me too. Things happened through the pandemic. And I want to be very mindful and considerate. I know that through the pandemic, we lost a lot of things, but we also lost a lot of people. So I want to honor that and to be very empathetic and just say, if you lost someone, a loved one, a friend, a relative, I am very sorry for your loss. And I pray, that God can continue to heal your heart and help you through the grieving process. In my case, however, I lost things. My financial situation, got severely affected by the change in careers, and by my meaning and my purpose also got affected by losing the ministry that I could no longer continue. So all of this, brought or revealed, the crisis that I perhaps was already going through, a crisis in identity, life purpose, meaning. And all of this caused a level of depression or frustration or a mix of emotions where I felt out of place. I felt like I was lost. I didn't know what was going to happen next, with my finances, with my career, with my ministry. But this verse, Jeremiah 29:11, for I know what I have planned for you, says the Lord. Other versions say, for I know the plans that I have for you. And God says, these plans that I have are actually meant to prosper you. But in the midst of not prospering, in the midst of a crisis, yes, I came to question myself. I came to a point where I was questioning God's plan and God's purpose for my life. But I'm here to tell you that it says not to harm you. So you're going to go through seasons in life, and even through a crisis like I went through. But the purpose of all of those circumstances are not to break you or are not to destroy you or to harm you, like Jeremiah 29:11 says, but they are actually to prosper you. And prosperity is such a wide-ranging, meaningful word. Prosperity. I want to prosper. I want for my soul to prosper. I want for my finances to prosper. I want for my relationships to prosper. I want for my career to prosper. So I went from being at the height where things were going great, financially. On the surface, everything looked like it was going well. But eventually, like I said, in the midst of all this commotion with the COVID-19, pandemic and all of whatever, that brought with, revealed something was not right in my life. Personally, with my life, with my heart, with my spirit, with my purpose. So through Jeremiah 29:11, I can say to you or remind you, God is speaking to a man named Jeremiah. And if you go back to Jeremiah chapter 1, you get to see that God literally had a plan and a purpose for Jeremiah, even before Jeremiah was born. So that gives me a lot of hope. And I hope that it gives you hope as well. God technically has a plan first, and then he assigns a person to that plan. To me, that is something beyond comprehension. It is something that excites me and that gives me a lot of, hope, and it gives me a lot of joy to know that God thought of me for that purpose, that God thought of you for that life purpose or that life mission. And let me tell you, when we talk about your life purpose, it's technically a life multi-purpose or a multi-layer kind of purpose. You're not just born to do one thing at one point in your life. Your purpose will transform and develop and grow and manifest through the years. Your purpose will be put to the test. Your purpose will be questioned. Your purpose will suffer all kinds of attempts. But in the end, God's will prevail. So his plans are to give you, the Bible says, a future filled with hope. But for a season in my life, I had no future. I had no hope. My purpose and my meaning were blurry. I could not make sense of what was happening for that season in my life. So no wonder that I was feeling lost and depressed and sad, and my finances, were a mess, and my relationships, came to a complete stop. I literally clammed myself in, and I stopped, pursuing things, and I stopped pursuing new friendships or new interests even though it was a short season, nonetheless it affected and impacted me in a very, very powerful way. But I'm here to tell you, and I'm here as a testament or a testimony that, God works in mysterious ways. And like I said before, his ways, are not our ways, and his plans, are not necessarily our plans. But his plans and his purposes are always greater. So when in doubt, I'm going to go with the plan that God has already designed and created for my life. So when I find myself in the midst of all this chaos and commotion and feelings and emotions, just in a mess, I begin to seek the Lord from a different angle, from a different place. And I continue to pursue my education and continue to pursue, my personal growth and my personal development. And the Lord begins, to do some intensive work in my life, changing my mindset, changing my mentality, the way I see life, the way I see problems, the way I see challenges, the way that I communicate, the way that I relate, to the world and to other people. So in the end, I was technically put through the fire for a year and a few months. And just like gold, gold is revealed through the fire. And anything that is not gold, any impurities, any dirt, it will fall off. But the gold will remain. So that is exactly what has happened in my life. I have gone through the fire, I have been put through the test, and the Lord, has refined me, and the Lord has revealed, his life purpose and the mission that he has for me for this new season in my life. I get to do both the business and the ministry aspects of my life, but in a better and bigger way than I did before. Before, those two things were kind of like running, parallel. They really did not come together. But in this new season of my life, I have become a life coach, and not just a life coach, but a Christian life coach. And, I am now becoming the person that I wish that I had by my side at one point. Especially in those dark moments, in those dark days of my midlife crisis. So now, having gone through that crisis, having gone through the storm and coming out, I technically went through a life makeover. And I love, shows that have to do with makeovers, whether it's a singing, show or, personal, image show where they transform your look, or where they transform a house that is all dilapidated and run down, and they can make a beautiful home out of something that was just crumbling down. I love a makeup or makeover story, or a picture of something that is being repurposed, something that is given new life. So that's what has happened to me, and that's what I am now making this a career where I can be that person for somebody else. So if you're going through some kind of an identity crisis, you're feeling stuck in a certain level in your life, you are not sure about who you are in the first place, let alone what you are here for in this world, I can work with someone like you. Normally a life coach, can work with someone that is going through the same or similar things that the coach has gone through before. This works in sports, and it works also in life itself. So as a coach, I get to come alongside with you and work with you. As a coach, I'm not necessarily here to tell you how to run your life, but I am here to work alongside with you. And we can work on mindset, like a shift, changing your mentality, getting clarity, finding your life purpose, finding what talents and gifts and abilities you actually have. And many times you just don't realize, and why is a coach or having a coach, better than just having a friend? Many people say, well, I can just go to my best friend, or I can just go to my spouse. A spouse, a relative, a friend, they will be somewhat, biased. They will probably tell you something that you want to hear. They will probably try to protect your feelings. They will try to remain in a relationship or in good standing with you. But as a coach, I am a neutral person, and I can relate, and I can understand, and I can see things from a different perspective, from a different point of view, from a different place. So I really encourage you, whether you seek my services or you go with someone else, for help, I strongly recommend, I struggled a lot to manage and to come out, unharmed out of this season in my life. But I probably could have benefited a lot from having a coach at that time in my life. So you can say, well, but having a life coach, is expensive, or it costs, money. And I can tell you, having the services of a life coach will actually help you achieve a transformation. So just think of, having a mindset shift, just being able to think differently, just being able to discover who you are and to discover who and what you can do as well. That can be value that it is beyond, it is priceless. So consider, working with a life coach as an investment in your life for your personal growth, for your personal development. And I encourage you, I will tailor, devotionals specifically to your case. And I have a program that is a 90-day program. So technically it is actually 12 sessions. And we can do anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. And this is all done online. And it'll be one-on-one for 45 minutes to an hour, where we can pray, we can go over scriptures, we can go over the program that I have designed. and we can have time, to have a conversation and a dialogue and really figure out, where you are and help you get to that point or that place where you are trying to get to. So, my friend, I hope that this episode can help you and be a blessing to you. And remember, God has a plan, a purpose for your life. And like he told Jeremiah, before you were born, I had a plan. For Jeremiah, the plan was for Jeremiah to be a prophet to the nations. Not just a prophet for Israel, but a prophet to the nations. And just thanks to God first, and Jeremiah, now you and I, in many nations of the world, can talk about this particular verse. For I know what I have planned for you. And these plans are plans to prosper you and not to harm you. They are actually plans to give you a future filled with hope. So, my friend, I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, you be blessed, my brother. Be blessed.